Hello, friends. We are glad to be here tonight. It's exciting again to bring to you some of our management training in our clips. We are hoping that at the end of this resource center, we should be able to hand you over some bits of our manuals, and we are glad tonight that we're able to put some of these things into compatible formats so that you can always have them at a go while studying and then preparing yourself for the great job ahead of you. My name is Emeka. I'll be anchoring this session tonight. I work for Daniel and Hannah's Family Signal, and today we'll be discussing on advocacy, concepts and rationale, an overview of what advocacy is all about. The learning objectives, most precisely for this talk tonight, is that we need to define what advocacy is or what they are. Then we need to understanding the concept and the rationale of advocacy, discuss the types of advocacies, and then discuss who is an advocate, discuss benefits of advocacy, discuss the role of the peace team or the vigilante group members with respect to CSOs, community, civil society organization in advocacy. Now, I like to follow closely. You must be the change that you want to see in the world. That was a quote by Indira Gandhi, and it's a critical and it's pivotal to what we would like to be looking at tonight. The concept of voice is a metaphor for a variety of ways in which people express belief and preferences. So voice is key. Voice is important when you're talking about advocacy. In fact, you cannot talk about advocacy if there's nothing like voice. So voice actually is the reason for advocacy. If there's no voice, actually there's no advocacy. And then you could talk about voice can be expressed individually or collectively or corporately. Now, voice is understood to be described to describe how citizens express their interests, react to governmental decision making, or the positions stake out by parties and civil society actors, and respond to problems in the provisions of public goods such as education, health services, infrastructure, etc. So there must be a voice, and someone's got to be that voice in any situation of advocacy. Someone has to be that voice. Now, what is advocacy? Advocacy is all about change, and it is only a strong voice that can influence and create the desired change. It's very important that you understand this. Now, next, what is advocacy? Advocacy is advocacy a science or an art? As a science, most effective advocacy can be seen as effective. Most effective when it is planned systematically. Each step requires distinct knowledge and skills. Now, when we look at advocacy as an art, it articulates issues in ways that inspire people and move them to action, involves negotiation and consensus building, incorporating creativity, style, and even the sense of humor where necessary. Now, the next, if we continue, advocacy is a process to bring about change in the policies, law, and practices of influential individuals, groups, and institutions. That's the definition from UNDP, United Nations Development Project. Now, advocacy could also be is a systematic and organized effort to change unhelpful laws, policies, practices, or behaviors. Advocacy can also be seen as is about engaging stakeholders, key stakeholders, people that matter for or supporting social change, creating an environment where specific goals can be achieved. Advocacy is about helping people to 1. Express themselves freely, 2. Obtain their rights, 3. Represent their interests, and 4. Gain the services and practical support they need or are entitled to. Advocacy is a process over time. Advocacy is strategic. Advocacy is well-designed activity targeted to decision makers. Advocacy is directed at influencing policy, laws, regulations, programs, or funding decisions at the top, public or private or national or regional or local institution. Advocacy is a local institution. What advocacy is not? Advocacy is not partisan or confrontational. When we say partisan, we mean it is not born out of prejudice, not born out of special interest. And when we say confrontation, it is not a tug of war kind of exercise which a group holds the end of a rope, pulling each other as it were. No, that's not advocacy. Two broad types of advocacy could exist or more. Individual advocacy. This focuses on changing the situation for an individual and protecting that individual's right, addresses immediate and day-to-day needs of individual short-term individuals, then short-term changes. Two broad types of advocacy. The first one, we have described the individual sort of advocacy. Individual sort of advocacy. We have said that advocacy is not partisan or confrontational. And then next, we said that there are two broad types of advocacy, where we have looked at the individual advocacy and then the systems advocacy. The systems advocacy focuses on effort to change policy, law, community attitude, and practice at local, national, regional, and international level to change the situation for groups of individuals who share or are affected by similar problems. Works to improve the system to the benefit of individuals. It is a long-term approach to problem solving requiring sustained effort. Now we equally have the proactive and reactive advocacy elements. The proactive advocacy element set an agenda and use advocacy to prevent a problem before it happens. But there is also the reactive advocacy element. That is problem. The problem or issues are already there. Then advocacy is used to reduce or de-escalate such a problem. Why do we advocate? We advocate to build support for a cause and encourage others to support it. We advocate to influence or reform legislation that affect the cause. We advocate to promote social change, peace, and resolve social injustice. We advocate to empower people to access their rights and entitlements. We advocate to make a difference in people's lives. Having done all that, there could be some benefits that are attributable to advocacy. Benefits of advocacy. Advocacy works wonders. It helps to, number one, influence what decision makers think and do. It helps to secure commitments and actions of decision makers at all levels on priority issues. Advocacy helps to get a fair share of resources for identified issues in spite of competition for resources. Advocacy equally helps to keep identified issues on public and media agenda. Advocacies equally help you to create desired change, enhance peace building. Now, the other thing that will come to mind is, who is an advocate? Now, an advocate can be said to be someone who represents the views of another without judgment regarding a situation that affects them in order to influence others. That means an advocate represents people's view without judgment regarding a situation that affects them in order to influence others. Now, an advocate would be an individual who feels passionately about their experience and have the time and motivation to do something with that passion. Now, you may have the time, you may have the resources, but then you must have certain qualities that are like prerequisites for you to be an advocate. Now, advocates are those individuals with the following characteristics. Now, we must take key notes on these characteristics to be mentioned. Just a few of them though. 1. Knowledgeable about the issues, problems. The advocates, one of the qualities is that you must be knowledgeable about the issues or the problem you are dealing with. 2. The advocate must be convinced about supporting that issue. And then 3. The advocate must be determined to share their conviction with others, to carry others along. And then 4. The advocate must know why, where to get data to support the issues at the front burner. The advocate must know how to communicate with policymakers. And then the advocate must possess the skill to speak out and influence people to take action. The advocate must also be ready to take risk. And then the advocate must have the ability to mobilize human and material resources for successful advocacy on specific issues. Now, basic requirements or basic skills required for advocacy, of course, you don't really need to be a pro, but there are certain basic skills required, before you be said to be on the line and the pathway or put the ladder on the road, in the job of advocacy. Now, you must have a good communication skill. You must have a good negotiation skill. That is, communication is grand. Number 2, negotiation skill is another skill that the advocate must have. The ability to lobby. Lobbying is a skill and a strategy that the advocate must put in his kitty. Social marketing must be an ability that the advocate must have, and an ability to mobilize must be another quality that the advocate must have. Advocacy, identifying a problem, cause, and proposing a solution. Now, there's need for us to delineate activism and lobbying. For example, in activism, identification of a problem, cause, and proposing a solution is part of activism. Now, but in lobbying, influencing or attempting to influence legislative action through oral or written communication with legislative officials, solicitation of others to influence or attempt to influence legislative actions, or attempting to obtain the goodwill of legislative officials. That can be said to be lobbying. Meanwhile, in activism, active citizenship and self-organization that takes place outside political circles or focus is on public activities such as mass protests, street demonstration, strike action, and then public demonstration. We would like to call it a wrap at this point, and we hope that we've done a few things that you could reach us with. Now, but should you want us to come to your institution or your organization to do a one-on-one in-house training, you could give us a call at the following numbers listed: 0803 084 8900. I'll take the number again: 0803 084 8900. Until we come your way again next time, my name remains Emeka MORDI, your anchorman for APDF. God bless.